record เลยนะ
ได้เลยค่ะ
Okay,ค่ะ, so let's get started. Thank you so much, Kun Jing, for taking your time to join us today. And we hope that your journey will inspire us all, as well as we'll gain like invaluable insights from your journey in becoming a psychiatrist in Hawaii. So without further ado, please allow us to introduce ourselves. Hello, Naka. My name is Nathamontin Prashawong or Hilight. I'm a student of International Community School, and I'm currently a rising 10th grader. And one of my hobbies is I enjoy interviewing and learning more through storytelling.
Hello, my name is Napasanan Bangsongsuat and my nickname is Jenju. I am in grade 11 at Surat Thani School. One of my hobby is doing some artwork.
Yes, so our first question would be, could you please introduce yourself and give us a brief overview of what you've been up to?
Sure. So hi, my name is Dr. Jing, or people usually call me Mo Jing. Full name is แพทย์หญิงชยานินทร์ Phongsathapon. I am a child psychiatrist at the University of Hawaii at Queen's Medical Center, Honolulu, Hawaii, United States of America. So just a little bit of background about myself. I graduated from Ladvinit Bangkeo. I went there from grade 7 until grade 12. And I went to Chulalongkorn University in degree of medicine. So I graduated there. Afterwards, I worked in Thailand for 3 years. And then I came to general residency psychiatry here at the US at the University of Hawaii, the program that I work at right now, for 3 years. And then I went for fellowship at Tufts Medical Center in Boston, specialized in child psychiatry for 2 years. So I just graduated June next year and came back to work. So I'm almost a year working now as a child psychiatrist.
So how do you define a word success?
Yes, based on like your journey as a psychiatrist and like moving countries, I think you might have like a set goal and maybe an idea of how you like visualize success.
That's a very interesting question because I think success for me was defined very differently in each stage of my life. So when I was young, like at that time, my success was to get into a medical school. And when I was in medical school, I was trying to see how my future was going to be. And I'm at the stage of my life that I think being successful is basically being true to yourself and who you are and being happy with the life that you have currently and have positive outlook in life. And of course, there's going to be hard time that's coming because, nobody's perfect and nobody's happy all the time. And being successful, meaning being able to go through that difficulties without falling apart, basically.
So as you've said, how like becoming a medical psychiatrist was one of your dreams and like when you were a child and what you would define as like success. So why did you choose to become a psychiatrist in Hawaii?
So I have to ask that question because I'm not sure if you want me to answer like why did I choose to become a psychiatrist, or do you want me to answer like why Hawaii? You know what I mean? Because the answer will be different.
Could you like explain both?
Sure. So the first question, why did I choose to become a child psychiatrist? Well, first of all, I wanted to be a psychiatrist when I was in 8th grade. At that time, แพทย์หญิงอภิสมัยสิงห์รังสรรค์หรือว่าหมอเบิร์ด she is a psychiatrist working at Thanya Hospital in Thailand, which is a mental hospital in Thailand, and she won I don't know what it's called. Is it Miss Thailand? นางสาวไทย contestant. Yeah, she was the number 1 place in that contestant, and she wrote a book about her life working in a psychiatric hospital. And I was like, oh, like this kind of doctor is actually very cool because you not only look at the patient's disease, like, you know, how cardiologists, they only look at their hearts, or like lung doctors, they look at their lungs, but psychiatrists kind of work with the patient in every aspect of their life, not only their mental health, but also the family around them, also the occupation that they choose, and kind of very well-rounded in terms of knowing one patient. So I was aspired to be a psychiatrist since then. And during medical school, I get a chance to observe a family therapy session by a child psychiatrist. And I was very mind blown because I feel like a child psychiatrist not only treat the children, but also help the parents be able to get along with the children. And I can see the benefit of that therapy session right then and there. Usually the medication, it may take a while or may not work instantly, but doing therapy, it works pretty instantaneously. And so I wanted to be a child psychiatrist then. And next question is, why Hawaii? When I interview here, I had a really good opportunity to get to know like all the faculties here, all the residents and fellows here, and they're really nice. And there's a lot of kind of wide range of patient population here. And I think I was gonna get good education here in Hawaii, and I just feel belong here. I feel like I would be happy training here. That's why I chose here.
So like after you just work in the medical field in Thailand and USA, like what are some difference that you have seen or some culture shocks that you have encountered?
Sure. So I think the differences might be in terms of like the medical system, because in Thailand we use, it's almost like universal healthcare unless you go to private hospital, โรงพยาบาลเอกชน or like clinic that you have to pay like the 30 baht care for all or health for all in Thailand is basically, it's called universal health system, but in the US it's called insurance based. So basically everyone has insurance and they get care based on the insurance that they have. And it also limits like which patient can see which doctors and stuff like that. And another thing is that the number of hours of working is also very different, because when I was in Thailand as a medical student, there's no work limit, there's no like working hours. So I worked from like 8 a.m. in the morning until, you know, finish rounding like 6 p.m., some rotation maybe 8 p.m. And if I get to go home, then that's great, I get to sleep through the night. But if I were to be on call, then I have to work that night. So usually the call is from like 4 p.m. until 8 a.m. And some nights you can sleep, some nights you cannot sleep. And then 8 a.m. when you finish your call, you have to come to work again. So if you can calculate, that's probably like 36 hours of continuously working. And it's not good for any human body. And I really hope that the Thai government or the health minister in Thailand, you know, able to address that. Because when I came to the US, there's a work rule that the whole week you cannot work more than 80 hours. And it really depends on the program, but at least in my program, they don't allow you to work more than 12 hours. So let's say when I was on night float, we have a rotation that you work from like 4 p.m. until 4 a.m. Then after 4 a.m., you absolutely have to go back home to sleep. Like you cannot stay in the hospital, otherwise, you know, it's gonna violate the rules and then the hospital can get in trouble. So that's like one of the culture shock, which is actually very good culture shock, because I feel like I was able to take care of, you know, my health and my mind, get time off of work, so that I can rejuvenate and then work again the next day. So that's a long answer to your short question.
Okay, that sounds very interesting, how in Thailand we don't really have a limit for like how long medical students stay at the hospital, but in the United States, we can see that there are certain restrictions and set regulations to like ensure that we get enough sleep and like medical students don't become sleep deprived. So speaking of that, what's the worst and best part of being a child psychiatrist in your opinion?
Worst part and best part. I'll answer the worst part first. I think the worst part is that you have to listen to the story that's sometimes really heartbreaking. Like for example, some kids was abused when they was young, some kids was like harassed by other people, and it really hurts when that harassment come from your own parents. Like I think the one that's kind of hardest for me is the kids being sexually assaulted by either their brother or their father. And that story kind of haunts me because I can never imagine like who would do that to their child, but actually those people exist. So that's like the worst part of being a child psychiatrist, is that sometimes you have to hear very intense story. The best part is that you can actually help them. So, when you know that, oh, this kid's maybe was abused or not doing so well, then you can help them by removing them from the parents that's abusing them. It's actually not a psychiatrist's job, but the child psychiatrist can make a report, and then Child Protective Services can take away the parental rights, so the child can be safe and stuff like that. So we work as a team, and I think a lot of who we are comes from our childhood. So if I can intervene when they're really young, then they might have like a positive trajectory in their life, and they might have like a brighter future. And that's like the best part in my career, that I think I can make a difference in people's life.
So you listen to then that negative story like a lot from the patients, or how could you cope with it? It's like
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot because some of the stories are very intense. What I do is that I try to keep my mind off work after I get out of work. And lucky thing here, we have pretty rigid schedule. Like I work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sometimes if it's really hard, then I work until like 6 or 7, but usually not later than that. And after that, I completely take my mind off work. Like I either go eat delicious food, or I go exercise, or I watch K-drama. And during the weekends that I don't work, I schedule activities that I enjoy, so that I can, at least have some good things to look for in my life, so that I don't dwell in negative stories all the time, because it's really hard to kind of, live in that situation, especially for some kids. And I try, even though I can't really do it all the time. Some kids story, it goes in my dream, and sometimes it's just like when I was. Hello.
Hello ค่ะโอเคค่ะ
I think I was frozen, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. All good.
Okay.
You were talking about how like some of the child's stories come into your dreams. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so yeah, sometimes that happen, and I just have to kind of deal with it. I know that it might be not 100% that I can block it off after work, but when it comes, I just be mindful that, hey, this story might weigh me down, so I just have to let it go and not let it affect my life that much.
Okay, that sounds great that you can like clearly differentiate between your work life and your life outside of work. So we know that apart from being a child psychiatrist, you're also a YouTuber and an author yourself. So why did you decide to write สิ่งมีชีวิตที่เรียกว่าวัยรุ่น as well as สิ่งที่ใช่มาในเวลาที่เหมาะสม and lastly your newly released book ใจดีกับตัวเองบ้างก็ได้
Well, each book has its own story. So สิ่งมีชีวิตที่เรียกว่าวัยรุ่น was from the time before I started my residency. So after I graduated from medical school, I work at Thani Hospital, which is an addiction center. And I get to work with many teenagers who had addiction problems. And a lot of time I see is that there's miscommunication between parents and the child, which, of course they love each other, but there might be some generation gap or communication problems that cause them to have conflicts and argue all the time. So that book was written as a collection of my Facebook posts about like teenagers, basically, like how to communicate with your parents, how to deal with breakup, how to choose major for your college, what to do with failure in school, how to have motivation for studying. So that's why I decided to write สิ่งมีชีวิตที่เรียกว่าวัยรุ่น and then when I was in fellowship, I think the notion of like people should be rich, how do you get rich before you're 30, you have to be a millionaire before a certain age, blah blah blah. And then I look back in my life, and also a lot of people around me, like we don't really have that. Not everyone has the privilege to be that level of financial stability at that time. And I think everyone has their own journey, and the right thing will come at the right time. Also, like the right one in terms of like love will come at the right time as well. So I just wrote that book in a sense of helping people to understand that you don't have to fast forward life. You can enjoy life as it is, and then the right thing will come at the right time. And for the third one, ใจดีกับตัวเองบ้างก็ได้, which is recently released, and that's how I met you in person, Hilight, was because I think there's a trend of productivity, like how do you read 50 books in a year, or how do you maximize your time, which is great, but at the same time not everyone can do that. And when I post motivational interview in my YouTube, sometimes the people who watch it will ask me, oh, like I try to make schedule like this, or I try to make plan like this, but it doesn't go as planned. Like, what do I do? Am I a failure? Or I feel bad whenever I take rest. Like, can I just like breathe and not do anything in my free time? I'm like, of course, like you can do that. Like, you don't have to listen to those, toxic productivity guru. You can be kind to yourself, and you can have self-compassion so that you don't feel bad about yourself. Because nowadays, like people will just have a lot of saying that might bring your self-esteem down, and you don't have to be affected by those. So that's why I decided to write the 3 books.
Wow, okay. Thank you for sharing that with us. I know it's like a very tough question because we like just packed all 3 books in one question. But like speaking of ใจดีกับตัวเองบ้างก็ได้, I've like read the book and I really enjoyed it. It like conveys the point about like self-compassion, and I think that sometimes it has like been overlooked by society as a whole when like we become overly productive. So if you were to actually summarize the ใจดีกับตัวเองบ้างก็ได้ book in one major vocabulary word, what would it be, and why would you choose that word?
It might be hard to choose a word. I would choose a sentence.
Sure.
Basically just be kind to yourself. Let's have compassion to yourself, because nobody is perfect.
Okay. Sounds great. I think that absolutely like wraps the book into a single sentence.
Also, you are the YouTuber, as you say. Like, what what inspiring you to be a YouTuber?
First of all, I have to start with, like I start as a writer because I love to write since I was young, and I decided to be a YouTuber because the content that I wrote, sometimes it doesn't get to majority of population, especially there's some population that don't like to read. So I feel like, okay, maybe YouTube is, a good place to start by, and just basically have the content that's similar to what I write, but in a speaking kind of way, so people can listen to it as a podcast or listen to it while they driving or while they doing stuff. So that's my motivation to do the YouTube videos.
Okay, that sounds great. So we would also like to ask you about global issues. So how have you used your role as a child psychiatrist to advocate or support and solve various issues that might mean a lot to you?
Oh, I think being a child psychiatrist is actually, great for me to see mental health issue as something that's kind of common in everyone. It doesn't mean that, oh, you have to have problems in order to go to see a child psychiatrist. It's, I think I can understand more of certain issues in a deeper level. Like, for example, like LGBTQ plus, I understand that it's actually not disorder. Like in the past, when people think that, oh, there's only male and female, and then LGBTQ population is someone weird or odd, it's actually not like that. It's just kind of like we are born Thai and then the other people are born American. Like same, like some people are born gay or some people are born lesbian. It's not that there's anything wrong with them. So by providing that kind of knowledge can help people have more understanding about certain minorities population and help them have compassion for those population, because it's actually really hard to live in a society that people are super judgmental. So I actually create some videos about LGBTQ that help people to understand more, especially for parents. Due to like generational gap, there's some parents that still don't understand their kids who come out as gay or come out as lesbian or come out as trans. So yeah, I use my roles basically to provide education about these issues.
I would like to add on a follow-up question. So there has been a topic on, do you think like being queer is by nature or by nurture, which is like the environment kind of influences the child to become that way? Yeah.
So there's actually studies that come out, it's by nature. We probably don't know yet, but I don't know, in the future, they might be able to identify some genes that can tell us more. And it's a myth. So some people think, oh, because you raised your child that way, they become a certain way. It's not really like that. It may go together, but just like I mentioned, we are born Thai. It's not because our parents raise us to be Thai. Like we are born this way. So I would answer your question that it's by the nature.
Okay, got it. Thank you for your amazing response.
What are the problems that adolescents usually experience, and where do these problems stem from, and how do we solve it?
Oh, very nice question. So there's a psychologist named Erik Erikson, and he has this theory. It's called like developmental theory, that he put people from birth to death in different stages of life. And Erikson said that for adolescents, they are going through identity crisis. So basically, they experience changes in themselves, in their body, in terms of the physical change, like they have breasts, they growing taller, and for boys, they have like hoarse voice and start to like develop some kind of sexual characteristic that's, identify them as boys or girls, and they learning who they are as a person, and at the same time they're learning how they can fit with the society around them. So the identity question is the things that all adolescents are going through, like who am I as a person, who do I want to be, and that's also when you guys start to choose like the major or what you want to go into college, right? And also like who you are in the society around you, like am I a good enough person, how do I get along with my friends, how am I to my friends, and stuff like that. So this problem come from biology, basically, because each stage of life is different, and because the body change, we also has like this social expectation that basically adolescents are not adult and also not children, but it's the period that we prepare you to be adult in the version of the adult that you want to be. So the way to solve this problem is just to kind of acknowledge that it's okay to not know at times, because it's unknown period. You just gotta try until you probably have to try dating until you know what kind of person you like, or you have to try doing a lot of activities until oh, like this occupation is probably what I'm gonna lean forward to, those kind of things.
What are some effective strategies or interventions for managing anxiety in children and adolescents?
Effective intervention to managing anxiety. I can go on and on about this topic because it's a lot, but to keep it short is that you have to know what's going on in your mind, because a lot of times anxiety in children and adolescents, it stems from overthinking. Like you have bad grades, and then there's a lot of things that are going on. Oh, my mom's gonna yell at me. Oh my God, am I gonna go to college with this bad grade? So with those thoughts, a lot of thoughts that's going on in your mind, you have to really, really kind of stop those thoughts. And after you stop those thoughts, then you have to basically find the activities that you enjoy, so that you can feel calm. Like some people like to exercise, some people like to listen to music, some people like to play with their cats and dogs. And you can see that when you do those activities, you're not thinking about things and your anxieties kind of go away. So those would be my kind of first response. But then for some kids, the anxiety is very, very intense to the point that they have to see a psychiatrist or a therapist, and they may need to take medication. So if it's super intense and you try everything and it's not effective, then I would suggest you see a professional.
Okay, so one of the questions, so we've raised a poll on Instagram, and one of the questions that we got, and we'd like to pass on to a child psychiatrist like you, is that how should I deal with histrionic personality, which is when a person's self-esteem depends on the approval of others and doesn't come from the true feeling of self-worth.
Are you asking in terms of like you yourself feeling histrionic, or you have a friend who histrionic?
A friend passed on this message, so I think it's like them individually dealing with it. Yeah.
Okay. Meaning that they don't feel like they can accept themselves and they kind of leans on other people's attention.
Yes.
Okay. Well, a lot of it is probably from when they were young, and that there's certain interaction with their parents that they feel like they're not fulfilled, and that's why they have to look for other people's approval in order to feel good about themselves. And it's very tricky because it cannot be solved by just listening to me talk, or like read some books. It has to kind of like dig deeper in terms of like what happened at that time, how it affect them now. Can they let go of the person that they long to be? Can they have self-esteem by themselves without asking about other people's approval? And it's gonna take a lot of work, so I would recommend that person see a therapist.
Okay.
So coming to the last but not least questions, what is the one thing you wish you knew or someone had told you when you were younger that had significant impact on your life?
When I was young, I really hold on to what my dad told me. He said that you can be the best version of yourself. Like you don't have to compare yourself with anyone else. And I think that really helps me a lot in terms of like not letting people success kind of sway me or affect me in a way that make me feel bad about myself. So basically be the version of myself that I want to be. I can, create my own track, my own career path, or who I am without having to compare myself to other people. And I think that's very valuable because we in the internet era that we can see a lot of people's success, we can easily compare ourselves to others, and that's actually not good for anyone's mental health. So if I want to pass on something to the current generation, just embrace who you are as a person. It's okay if you fail at times. It's okay because nobody's perfect. And you just, kind of live life the way that you enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing with us your journey today. We really appreciate your time. So to end this, we would like to thank you, นะคะหมอจิง Thank you so much for joining us today ค่ะ And we hope you audiences also gleaned invaluable insights from Dr. Jing's personal journey in becoming a child psychiatrist. Yes.
บ๊ายบาย
ได้ค่ะก่อนจบขออนุญาตrestart meeting นิดนึงได้ไหมคะ มีเวลาเหลืออีกนิดนึงไหมคะเผื่อว่าจะถามคำถามแบบ off air นิดนึงอะค่ะ
อ๋อได้ค่ะ
เดี๋ยวหนูอาจจะ restart meeting แล้วก็ส่งลิงก์ไปใหม่นะคะ พอดีว่าอันนี้มันมีเวลาจำกัดอะค่ะ
อ๋อค่ะได้ค่ะ
ค่ะ ขออนุญาตนะคะ
ค่ะ